Oh. Get it on there quick enough. There's no compression. It's got compression. No compression. That's probably what it is, but how it's doing it, I don't know. You don't even have to like Jeeps to be intrigued by this. Crazy as it probably sounds, been doing mechanic work 20 something years. This is a first. I've never even thought it'd be possible to do what it's doing. Wasn't even gonna film this, but this was just gonna be one I was gonna back in. Just had a little miss to it. Honestly thought it was a burnt valve. I'll show you what I've done to it, and then I want to show you what it's doing, and I don't even know what to say. I've got two theories for it, and I'll tell them after I show you what it's doing. Doesn't make any difference. It's a right-hand drive male Jeep. Cranks up just fine. It's got a really bad exhaust leak, and I'm probably gonna fix that so we can hear it a little better at some point. I couldn't exactly pinpoint where the miss is, and on these, they don't have coil packs. It's easy to unplug a coil pack and see if it changes the miss, but for sure narrowed it down to 1 and 2, possibly number 6. It's kind of hard to tell the way it runs, but first thing I did, I seen these little frayed wires right there, and I was like, oh, I bet just one of them's touching somewhere there. Well, I got a noid light out, and it's firing just right. And like I originally said, I figured it was a burnt valve being a male Jeep. They deliver the mail, don't pay attention to the temperature, they just drive them. Like this one, if you look down there, has a solid mounted fan clutch right there. So you know they've been fighting running hot. Electric fan been tampered with. Very common on these Jeeps, but I'm gonna try to keep this kind of basic video or general topic. I narrowed it down to number 1, number 2. I just gonna study on them. I was worried about a head gasket. But let's see, compression. About 150. So that's really good for this old junky motor been on the mail route. Well, there they are. I've done threw them away, but I had the plugs out and they was pretty rich, and the front tube was wet. I was like, all right, so it's not firing, lack of compression or lack of fire. So real quick and easy, threw a new set in there, and for the heck of it, I just went and got a new set of, well, I checked to make sure it's firing. It was firing. And then I put a new, well, used set of cap and wires on there. Just, I have a junkyard if you didn't know. They was laying there, threw it on there, same thing. So I was sitting there and thinking, I was like, it's wet, so it's getting fuel. So I laid the plug wire right here and laid it down and run it, and it's sparking while it's running. It's wet, so it's getting fuel, and it's making compression. I was like, that's just not how an engine works. So I was thinking about it, I said, it's got compression, it's got spark. I don't think it's possible. I wonder if it's spraying too much fuel. I mean, the injector hung open, I've never seen it, but got my little handy stethoscopes out here, put them in, probed all of them. They all sound the same. You know, that's just kind of not professional mechanic work, but gets you on the right track. So they all sound good, all sound the same. I remember it in my Comanche video, if you saw it, the long series on that. I spent 10 days trying to fix a problem. But got a temp gun. Luckily on the 4.0 right here, you can see the first header coming out of there. It was like 150 degrees. Idling should be 400, give or take, sometimes up closer to 600 from what I've learned. I even was curious, trusted myself, but I was like, well, let's just make sure. The plug's laying here, the compression gauge is stuck in the cylinder. I crank it up and run it, and the temperatures were like 150, 160. I was like, all right, so it's definitely not firing. So here's the part that gets crazy. So y'all probably can't see good, but this is screwed into number 1. We're gonna spin it over. Our same 150, give or take. All right, so now I'm gonna pop that off there. I'm gonna fire it up. It's got a bad exhaust leak, so don't change it, but watch what happens. Number 1, I hold my finger over like right there. That may be normal because the way it's going up and down so fast. But watch this. Just gonna put my gauge back on. Get it on there quick enough. There's no compression. I don't know how long I needed to keep spinning it. But I'm just gonna keep sitting here. I'll have to speed this thing up. If you'll wait long enough, you have compression again. About 15 seconds. It's got compression. If you don't believe me, let's do it again. Ready? I don't think you can check compression while they're running. Alright. You ain't had to cut that seam. No compression. I checked this morning. I've been thinking all day. One thing that come up in my mind later on today is, I know these people and I hope they don't see the video, but I wonder if this was a lady delivering the mail and this Jeep is old, wore out, and he was tired of fixing it, so he sugared the gas to kind of blindly take it off the road. And I've only seen it one time in my life. It was on like an S10 or something. But I seen the valves were sticky. They had like sticky from the sugar. And I've heard sugar don't even actually work. So I don't know that's true, but that's just a theory. It's like the valves obviously staying open for some reason, causing a miss, blah, blah, blah. It's not a burnt valve. Do a leak down test on it. I'm sure it's good if it's got compression. Only other theory I got is basically it's only doing it in the presence of oil pressure. I didn't even check the pressure, but if you've seen how a hydraulic lifter, it's basically a miniature hydraulic ram with not very good pressure. It's just a slack adjuster. All it does is take up the slack between the cam, lifter, push rod, all that stuff. That's probably what it is, but how it's doing it, I don't know. I wish I could post this now and see comments. Let me study. Hadn't even plugged it up, but I got a leak down test. I got to thinking, I said 50-50 chance on the valves. But if it's the intake valve, when I hook this up and if it does leak down, if it's the intake valve, that might back up the sugar story. Again, 50-50 chance it's the intake or exhaust. But I was just curious before I took the valve cover off. That's probably my next move. So, been sitting, should have perfect leak down test, or decent. Gotta find BDC. Maybe on the wrong stroke. This ain't working. Try again. So it's leaking pretty severely. I don't hear where it's going. Usually you can hear it coming out of the intake. Can y'all see the intake now? So usually you can hear it right here. Oh, the motor. Oh, dang it. Motor moved. You can't hear it coming out of there. Can't hear it coming out of there. Oh, gotta turn my air conditioner off. Oh, that one's running too, but can't hear it coming out of there. Well, this is strange. I'm still confused. To turn my air compressor on, we're gonna spike it up to 100 and see what happens. Uh-oh. Now it's working. They're pretty good. It's getting better. So I wonder if the valve was just still stuck open. Let's go to 80. See if I can find where that's leaking. It's still not good, but it's acceptable. Alright, so it's leaking right here. I don't know how to visualize air. I don't know if this is smart. So yeah, it's leaking around the rings. So that means the motor, in my understanding at this point, is just wore out. Now whether that means something to do with the rings not making compression, I don't think it'd be even possible. We'll just do this. So the valve's sealing good, I would say. I'm gonna go check the exhaust. It's trying to go in the exhaust, so yeah, it's good. So both valves are sealing wonderful. Maybe the motor's just wore out, but it's confusing. I like these, they make a fool out of me, but I'm gonna figure it out. I feel like what I should do is, now that it's good, we just saw it's pretty good, decent, is run it for a second, cut it off, and go straight to the leak down and see if it's leaking out of the valve, because I don't know what it could be with a piston. I personally never seen it, but let me crank it up. Still hooked to the leak down tester. I don't think it'll hurt nothing. I don't think that's good. No, I'm just kidding. That's what it's supposed to do. It's going up and down, kind of common sense. 123 degrees. Alright, we'll cut it off. Actually, I'll kill it out here. Straight to leak down. Intake. It's on 80 and it's on 15. And I can hear it coming out of the intake. Well, maybe that's going out the exhaust. Get the camera, get the camera. Oh, it quit. Well, you might can see some smoke. See how it's going down now? There's a little bit of smoke residue, but it's definitely the exhaust. Staying stuck open, so what does that mean? So again, we're at 80 and give or take 15. Still, it sounds like the intake, but I'm 90% sure it's the horrible exhaust leak. Y'all have heard it by now. So I'm just gonna keep letting it sit here. Let's bump it. So nothing changed. I got to thinking, what if it's in a stroke that the valve's holding open? Still the same. I'm just gonna leave this plugged up. I think the next move is to pull the valve cover, loosen the rocker arm, see if we've got something holding it down or if the valve is actually sticking by itself. I'm going to start on that. I'm going to leave this and I'm going to pick you up when the valve starts closing off. Alright, just a little update. I took the old valve cover off and it's still doing the same thing. So that's good and bad. First off, everything looks rusty, which is well, even the push rods. Look down in there. That looks odd for a oily motor. Wonder if the valve, no, the valve looks shiny down there. So it's still leaking. These are what I would call tight. But if I loosen them and it quits, that means something, no, I can spin the rocker on. No, I can't. I can spin it on the intake, but I can't spin it on the exhaust. You could see, like I said, it's got pressure on there. So if I loosen this, should go up when I loosen it. Oh. So how did that just work? I had to pick it up by hand. What in the world? Let me just take the rockers off. Oh. Intro to the video right there. Ah, that is a first for me. That's crazy. Grab my light and let y'all check this out. Broken valve spring. Look at that. Hanging off the edge there, so I guess that's putting side load on it. Might do some studying to figure out exactly what that means, but I guess it just means there's not... It's a broke valve spring. Whatever it's doing, it doesn't matter. It's a broke one. So, wonder if that's the only one. Do some digging. So in the morning, this is one I'm gonna sell. Not related to the video, but this is for rural mail carriers. They're always looking for just cheap as possible just to get on the job. Because when you start, I think you work 1 day a week, so you don't make enough to pay for an expensive vehicle until you're full time. So all I want to do is get this thing running, fix a few knickknacks, and just pass it along, help somebody get a job. So in the morning, I'm changing the exhaust out. I want to be able to hear this thing, but I'm gonna pull the valve spring off. I've never done that on a motor. I'll figure it out. I'm a big boy. And then we'll change both those valve springs, go from there. Alright, got it all back together. So far, all I did is change the valve spring. Crap, I was supposed to show y'all. Carried it to my brother's shop. I borrowed a tool from him to put it on there. But all I did is change the valve spring. The stupid exhaust header, it was cracked in a weird spot in 2 different places, and I've never seen them crack there. And I looked it over because it sounded horrible, but we'll see. Alright, throw a battery back on there. Hope I didn't miss nothing. Crank it up. Got to start it out here. Wow. Still a used motor, but that sounds a lot better. I've got a vacuum line off. Can't find no dang vacuum line. Wow. Man, what's that? A valve spring. That thing sounds good now. Well, hot dog. That's a first for me. I swear to goodness, I've never seen a valve spring. I wonder, well, that right there, if they didn't keep a good PCV system or something and it collected water and rust those springs. I don't know. Feels like a weird conclusion to a video, but I never know where these are going. Like, I just pull random Jeeps in the shop, and if it's videoable, I start it, and then it's the only way. That's what I say in pretty much every video. The only way I can teach you what I know is to let y'all follow along with what I do. So I'm gonna continue on this, and something crazy comes up, I'll pick you up. I'm not real sure, but I noticed the alternator gauge ain't working, so I've been waiting on a Jeep for this day. Because if you've never seen this, this is a regulator for, oh, here's another one. Regulator for like a 79 Plymouth. So this is actually a stand where I check alternators. That's a video in itself. And I check taillights right there for WJs. Anyways, like I said, if this alternator don't charge, that's another video. But for now, hope you learned something. I know I did. Have a good day.